Being chosen by God is a tremendous honor, but it's not an easy path. Many are called, but few are chosen. And for those whom God has set apart, the journey is often marked with hardship, loneliness, and struggle. Are you a chosen person? In today's video, we're going to explore 5 harsh realities of being chosen by God and whether they resonate with you. The first reality is isolation and loneliness. God often calls his chosen ones to stand apart, to be set aside for his specific purposes. This can lead to seasons of isolation, where it feels like no one understands your calling or your journey. Take a look at figures like Moses, Elijah, or even Jesus. They spent significant time alone, separated from the crowd, seeking God's will. In those moments of isolation, God is preparing and strengthening us. But the loneliness can feel overwhelming, a harsh reminder that the chosen path is not always filled with companionship. The second reality is rejection. Being chosen by God often means you won't fit in with the world. You may face ridicule, mockery, or even rejection from those who don't understand the path God has called you to walk. In John 15:18, Jesus says, "If the world hates you, keep in mind that it hated me first." Jesus himself was rejected by the very people he came to save. As his followers, we too may experience rejection. But this rejection is not a reflection of your worth. It's a confirmation of your calling. The third reality is trials and challenges. Being chosen doesn't exempt you from suffering. In fact, it means you will face even greater trials. An example is the life of Joseph. Though he was chosen by God, he was sold into slavery and imprisoned before he saw the fulfillment of his purpose. James 1 verse 2-3 says, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. These trials refine us, purify our faith, and prepare us for the destiny God has for us." Though the path may be hard, it is through these challenges that God shapes us into who we are meant to be. Another harsh reality is the weight of responsibility. Being chosen by God means being entrusted with his mission. This can feel overwhelming at times. The weight of leadership, of influence, or of carrying out God's will can press down heavily. Luke 12:48 says, "To whom much is given, much will be required." With great calling comes great responsibility. The burden can feel too heavy to bear on your own, but remember, you are never alone. God gives strength to the weary and power to the weak. Before I reveal the fifth and final sign, I want you to like the video and subscribe to support the channel if you can really tell that all these signs resonate with you. Let me also know in the comments if you've encountered any of these I've mentioned so far. At this moment, let's proceed to the final sign. The final reality is spiritual warfare. When you are chosen by God, you become a target for the enemy. Satan will attack, trying to discourage, distract, and derail you from fulfilling your God-given purpose. Jesus himself faced spiritual attacks, most notably in the wilderness when he was tempted by Satan. In Ephesians 6:12, the Bible says, "For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the powers of this dark world and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms." The more significant your calling, the more intense the battle. But God equips his chosen with the armor of God to stand firm against the schemes of the enemy. Yes, the reality of being chosen by God can be harsh. It comes with loneliness, rejection, trials, responsibility, and spiritual warfare. But let me remind you, being chosen also means being set apart for a divine purpose, one that glorifies God and impacts the world in ways you may never fully understand. 1 Peter 2:9 says, "But you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's special possession, that you may declare the praises of him who called you out of darkness into his wonderful light." God doesn't choose the qualified, he qualifies the chosen. If you are walking in your calling today, take heart. God's grace is sufficient for you, and his power is made perfect in your weakness. Though the journey is difficult, the reward is eternal. Stay the course, trust in God's plan, and remember you are chosen for a purpose far greater than you could imagine. I believe this video has inspired you to keep moving forward in accomplishing the great task God has assigned to you. Since you're blessed by this, go ahead and like the video, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell if you've not, so you don't miss out on any video we post. Final words. Stay strong, stay faithful, and trust in God's perfect timing. Stay blessed.